Hello everyone, welcome to the Crystaly Recapped channel. And now you're going to hear a short review of the movie Unfaithful. Edward and Connie are a happy couple with an 8-year-old son. They live in a quiet suburb of New York City, devoting themselves to each other and their favorite work. One day after seeing her son and husband off, she hurries to work. A strong wind is blowing outside and taxi drivers ignore her. At some point, she accidentally bumps into a young man and drops her shopping bag. While Connie tries to help the stranger and collect the books, he saves her belongings. Noticing a wound on the girl's leg, Paul offers to take her to his house and treat her knee. Trusting the man, Connie goes to his house, locks herself in the bathroom, and seals her wounds with a plaster. Paul lives alone in the apartment of a sculptor who has moved to Paris. He resells books, finding interesting and valuable copies. Showing his sympathy, Paul gives one of the books to a girl and offers to meet her again. Married Connie considers this inappropriate and leaves the stranger's apartment in a hurry. When she returns home, she shows her son her wound so that he can take a memorable photo. She tells her husband about the chance encounter, and Ed offers to send the rescuer a bottle of wine, but Connie thinks it's not necessary. In the evening, a girl seduces her husband and wants to make love, but he is too excited about his new video camera. Tempted, he wants to kiss his wife, but he doesn't have time because their son is woken up. The next morning, Connie walks his son to school again and picks up the book Paul gave him. Finding a business card inside, she decides to call her, but she is plagued by doubts. On the second attempt, she manages to get through to Paul, and he invites Connie for a cup of coffee. During the meeting, the man takes her hand and helps her read a book for the blind. Feeling sympathetic to Paul, the married Connie is embarrassed and leaves his apartment in a hurry. When she arrives at her husband's workplace, she gives him a sweater, not wanting to distract Ed from his work. He tries to find out about his wife's plans for the near future. Connie tells him that she wants to organize a charity auction in which one of Ed's colleagues will participate. In the evening, Connie ignores her husband and thinks about her new friend, recalls his touch and compliments. When she visits Paul again, Connie brings him freshly baked muffins and is ready to drink coffee. The bookseller asks her to dance, and at some point she forgets about the pastries. In a moment, the couple could have kissed, but the music record is jammed. Paul tries to solve this problem, but Connie regains consciousness in a few minutes and remembers her husband and child. Realizing her mistake, she runs away, but returns a few minutes later because she forgot her coat. Paul rushes to her, and Connie cannot refuse the young and handsome man. On the way home, she recalls his caresses, touches, and kisses that drive her crazy. Connie wanted to resist, but Paul took it as a game, which only fueled his desire. She did not refuse the man and made love to him. At the same time, Ed talks to a colleague and learns that his wife did not organize the charity auction. Suspecting something is wrong, he tries to talk to his beloved, but she behaves as usual and pretends to be a model wife. Every day, Connie becomes more and more distant from her husband and child, spending less and less time with them. While Ed and Charlie are playing, she talks to Paul on the phone and rushes to meetings to spend a few wonderful hours with her lover. Deciding to have a change of scenery, Paul and Connie go to a cafe. At some point, she wants to leave so that none of her friends will see her with her young lover. Paul offers to bet, and they end up staying in the cafe. At the same time, Ed's subordinate notices her and draws obvious conclusions. Back at home, Connie takes a bath and at some point notices a drawing left by Paul on her stomach. She tries to wipe it off, and Ed comes home at this time. He decides to join his wife and take a bath with her. The man hints at intimacy, but Connie ignores him and goes to bed. The next morning, Ed proposes to meet during lunch, but his wife again refuses her husband. Suspecting something is wrong, he stays late, but Connie says she has to go for a facial. When he arrives at the office, he calls the massage parlor and finds out that Connie has no appointment. On the way to meet her lover, Connie meets her old friends Sally and Tracy. They offer to have lunch at a nearby cafe and disrupt the girls' plans. Deciding to warn Paul, she calls him on his home phone and tells him about the meeting with her friends. Her lover comes to the coffee shop, and the couple makes love in the toilet. The women notice a handsome guy, and Sally admits that she would like to spend the night with him. Tracy does not share her friend's desire because she once betrayed her husband and paid dearly for it. Betrayal brings pain and suffering, and sooner or later her husband will find out about it, and that will be the end of a good life. Despite all this, Connie draws no conclusions and spends time with Paul again. When Ed finds out that Bill has been meeting with competitors, he fires him because he has betrayed their company, which is a second family. As he leaves, the subordinate says that it is not for him to judge betrayal in the family, and he would rather watch his wife. After drawing his conclusions, the man meets with Frank Wilson and asks him to follow Connie. That evening, Ed tells his wife that he has to go on a business trip and will return in 24 hours. While in Chicago, he constantly thinks about Connie and sincerely hopes that his suspicions are unfounded. Meanwhile, the girl buys sexy lingerie and spends time with her lover, forgetting about her son. Back in New York, Ed meets with Frank, and the latter provides him with photos that confirm his worst fears. Connie openly walks with her young lover, spending time with him in cafes and movie theaters. Tired of being deceived, Connie decides to meet with Paul and end their relationship, but notices the guy with a young girl. In a fit of jealousy, she attacks him and demands an explanation. Then Connie says goodbye to Paul and leaves, but he catches up with her in the stairwell, and the couple makes love again. Ed arrives at Paul's house and almost meets wife face to face, but Connie is lucky to remain unnoticed. As Ed goes up to his wife's lover's apartment, he tries to control his emotions. He drinks and talks about how they met. Noticing a souvenir he gave his wife by the bedside, Ed loses control and hits Paul on the head. Realizing that Paul is dead, the man tries to regain consciousness and is ready to surrender to the police. But at some point he changes his mind and destroys the evidence. At the same time, Connie calls Paul and leaves an audio message asking him to leave her because she can't keep lying to him. After erasing the message and destroying all the evidence, Ed wraps Paul's body in a carpet and tries to take it outside. The elevator gets stuck, but the man manages to pull the body out and hide it in the trunk. On his way to his son's children's party, he puts himself in order and watches Charlie's performance. In the parking lot, one of the parents accidentally crashes into the trunk of his car. Frightened, Ed doesn't want to be judged, so he drives home and takes Paul's body to the dump at night. After getting rid of the body, he drives to a car wash and destroys the last evidence that could incriminate him. A few days later, the police arrive at Ed and Connie's house. Paul's wife has reported him missing, and the only clue leading to anyone is Connie's phone number written in the missing person's notebook. Connie deceives the detectives and says that she wanted to buy some books, but she didn't know Paul and had only seen him a few times. A few more days pass and the workers find the boy's body. The police come to Connie's house again and interrogate her. Ed brazenly deceives the detectives and defends his beloved, and then asks them to leave. The next morning, Connie picks up her husband's dry cleaning and finds photos taken by the private detective in one of his pockets. That same evening, she notices the souvenir she had given to Paul shortly before. Now Connie realizes who is behind Paul's murder, and left alone with her husband, demands a confession from him. After learning of the betrayal, Ed wanted to kill his wife, but held back for the sake of his son. The couple spends the next few days as a happy family, although they are frightened by the siren of a passing police car. Opening the souvenir, Connie finds a message left by her husband after the wedding. Now she understands why the bullet was so valuable to him. Concealing the crime, Connie burns the compromising photos, recalling her encounter with Paul over and over again. She realizes that if she had taken a taxi instead of going up to the stranger's apartment, things might have turned out differently. Ed cannot cope with the severity of the crime and is ready to confess. Connie convinces him to live as if nothing had happened. After holding a charity auction, the couple returns home. Stopped at a traffic light, they decide to sell their business and house and move to Mexico for good. After coming up with an escape plan, the couple kisses and doesn't notice that they are standing outside a police station. This is the end of the movie. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.